This is English shorthand dictation number 103 and the dictation speed is 120 words per minute. Ready? Start. According to an ancient Sanskrit saying, woman is the home and the home is the basis of society. It is as we build our homes that we can build our country. If the home is inadequate, either in material goods and necessities or in the sort of friendly and loving atmosphere that every child needs to grow and develop, then that country cannot have harmony. A country which does not have harmony cannot grow in any direction at all. That is why women's education is more important than the education of boys and men. We have neglected women education. When I was a child, the story of early days of women's education in England was very current. Everybody remembered what had happened in the early days. I remember what used to happen here. I still remember the days when living in Old Delhi, even as a small child of 7 or 8, I had to go out in a palanquin if I left the house. We just did not walk. Girls did not walk in the streets. This was in a family or community which did not observe parda of any kind at all. In fact, all our social functions were mixed functions, but this was the atmosphere of the city and of the country. Now we have got education and there is a debate all over the country whether this education is adequate to the needs of society or the needs of our young people. I am one of those who always believe that education needs a thorough overhauling. But at the same time, I think that everything in our education is not bad, and that even the present education has produced very fine men and women, especially scientists and experts in different fields, who are in great demand all over the world and even in the most affluent countries. Many of our young people leave us and go abroad because they get higher salaries and better conditions of work. But it is not a one-sided business because there are many who are persuaded and cajoled to go even when they are reluctant. We know of first-class students, especially in medicine or nuclear energy, where they are approached long before they have passed out and offered all kinds of inducements to go out. Now, that shows that people do consider that they have a standard of knowledge and capability which will be useful anywhere in the world. That is why I say that there is something worthwhile. It also shows that our own ancient philosophy has taught us that nothing in life is entirely bad or entirely good. Everything is somewhat of a mixture and it depends on us and our capability how we can extract the good, how we can make use of what is around us. There are people who, through observation, can learn from anything that is around them. There are others who can be surrounded by the most fascinating people, the most wonderful books, and other things, and who yet remain quite closed in, and they are unable to take anything from this wealth around them. Our country is a very rich country. It is rich in culture. It is rich in many old traditions and even modern traditions. Of course, it has a lot of bad things too, and some of the bad things are in the society, like superstition, which has grown over the years and which sometimes clouds over the shining brightness of ancient thought and eternal values. Then, of course, there is the physical poverty of large number of our people. That is something which is ugly and that hampers the growth of millions of young boys and girls. We have to fight against all these bad things, and that is what we are doing since independence. But we must not allow this dark side of the picture which exists in every country in the world. Even the richest country in the world has its dark side, but usually other people hide their dark sides and they try to project the shining side or the side of achievement. Here in India, we seem to want to project the worst side of society. Before anybody does anything, he has to have knowledge and capability, but along with it, he has to have a certain amount of pride in what he is doing. He has to have self-confidence in his own ability. If your teacher tells you that you cannot do this, even if you are a very bright student, it will be more and more difficult for you to do it. But if your teacher encourages you to try a little harder, then you will try a little harder and you will be able to do it. It is the same with societies and with countries. India has had remarkable achievements to its credit, of course, in ancient times, but even in modern times. I think there are a few modern success stories, which are as fascinating as the success story of our country. It is true that we have not banished poverty. We have not banished many of our social ills. But if you compare us to what we were just about 27 years ago, I think you will not find a single other country that has been able to achieve so much under the most difficult circumstances. Today we are passing through dark days, but these are not dark days for India alone, except for the countries which call themselves socialist and about which we do not really know very much. Every other country has the same sort of economic problems which we have. Only a few countries which have very small populations have no unemployment. Otherwise, the rich countries also have unemployment. They have shortages of essential articles. They have shortages even of food. I do not know how many of you know that the countries of Western Europe and Japan import 41% of their food requirements, whereas India imports just under 2%. Yet somehow we ourselves project an image that India is out with the begging bowl. Naturally, when we ourselves say it, other people will say it louder and stronger. It is true that our 2% is pretty big because we are a very big country and we have a far bigger population than almost any country in the world, with the exception of China. You have to try and see our problems in the perspective of what has happened here in this country and what is happening all over the world. There is today great admiration for certain things that have happened in other countries where the society is quite differently formed, where no dissent is allowed. The same people who admire that system or the achievements of that system are the ones who say there is dictatorship here. Even though I think nobody has been able to point out to me which country has more freedom of expression or action. So something is said and a lot of people, without thinking, keep on repeating it with additions until an entirely distorted picture of the country and of our people is presented.